All right, we are rolling. This is Purple Politics, and we are doing a special report from the Heartland. Bringing Pops in today. And how you doing?
I'm doing good. Right here from Mama's den in the middle of the house. So Mama Bear's got in a little pickleball on the side of the house, singles.
Okay.
With one other person today, so that's legal. And otherwise doing good here today. I think we'll jump right to the stats to the day. Currently, 76,928 have passed away from COVID so far, which is absolutely devastating, and 428 in Minnesota. And Minnesota was oddly up 30 today, which is a big kind of up spike. So I don't know what that's all about. So we'll have to be watching that closely. But I encourage everybody to go to the COVID stats and kind of look into the breakdown by state and then by million, or break it down by 100,000 is maybe a little easier to see. And you'll see the marked state variations that are occurring, obviously like New York, New Jersey, versus, which has like, 20 million, and then Florida would be similar, and then California that's like 40 million, and then Texas is like 30. And just kind of compare those stats to each other and how they are handling the lockdown differently. Maybe also compare it with Michigan. Now, I haven't confirmed this, but I've heard through some articles that when Hunan was discovered in China, they kind of locked down Hunan to domestic travel, but they did have a fair amount of foreigners in the countryside or the city that had to come home. And double check this out on a bunch of sites. So this Purple Politics is all about doing your own digging and researching yourself. But it was interesting. There was tens of thousands of people that left Hunan that came to America. And interestingly, what were the big states that they went back to? It looks like it was New York, New Jersey area. No big surprise.
Right.
Michigan, interestingly, a little higher. And I think California was a little high too. So whether that ended up bringing those death rates higher back, maybe that's one factor on why New York, New Jersey was higher than other spots. So start digging on that we talked about the other day. Where did this start? Did this start in the wet markets in Hunan? Evidence is kind of poking now around that it didn't, that it actually started in the Hunan lab, and then start poking around on why it happened and who might have been funding that and what's all that about. So interesting stuff.
Well, so I guess we might as well just jump right into that right now then, where there's been that viral video that's been going around, getting heavily debunked, but then also heavily promoted by both sides. I think it's...
Tell me about that. I picked it up with some friends here from the right, and you are really ingrained to the left, and both sides are out there with this site. What's that all about?
Well, I mean, I've seen it from both sides. I've seen it come in from groups on both sides. I think now the left...
Which is odd, because a lot of times the right and the left are promoting different sites, and this time, isn't that an oddity? When's the last time you saw that occur?
Right, yeah. I mean, I think that the right's always pretty inclined to be willing to talk about a conspiracy theory and having some interest in them, especially when it comes to like overwhelming government hierarchy, having oversight, control, money going around. That's kind of like the small groups that are controlling the world. I think the Republicans are always thinking that that's possible. And then,
one world conspiracy, Rockefellers, Masons, all that back. Yes, yes.
But then the Democrats really liked the idea of having Fauci be a part of that. So, you know, having the kind of the headline of that video saying that Fauci was a puppet master to what sounded like maybe the CDC or Trump or these larger big pharma groups, I think that resonated.
Pharmaceutical industry, yeah.
That resonated in some people's.
You can still find those. If you dig on the internet, you'll still find it. I think Facebook or YouTube took the main ones down, but they're out there so much with all your friends and stuff these days, easily could be dug up again. And it's worthwhile, you know, decide yourself, go out yourself and start putting these things together. A lot will say, totally debunk it, nothing to see here, move on. Well, I think it's, to be a thinker, you got to look at those things yourself and determine yourself what is going on.
I mean, I think it's fun. Like, everyone's like, you know, this is getting in the way of a productive conversation. At the end of the day, I think I have enough time right now for a conspiracy theory. And so it's been fun to, like, look at. This is one that is highly unlikely. It's being debunked widely, but then again, all conspiracy theories are until that you connect that final dot. So in no way could I imagine all of that video having validity, but you never know. There's always like sprinkles of maybe tethers of reality when you see like these larger conspiracy theory videos.
The one you can probably Google yourself is the nurse who debunks Fauci and talks about that her and her collaborating colleagues had come up with information on HIV and AIDS way before Fauci, and that Fauci's group apparently stole the idea, moved quickly on to the pharma industry, got those ideas patented, and made tons off it. Now, who knows if that's true or not? Directly related to that, let's go back to one in history where I went to Franklin Roseland's medical training in Chicago. Who the heck is Franklin Roseland? She is the person that now is credited with determining the double helix that Watson and Crick took credit for years. So to think that scientists are always superior in ethics, and that they aren't sometimes going for fame, money, fortune, is debunked right by there. Check out Rosalind Franklin, do your little research. She is the one that actually came up with what the double helix was all about. So, and for years they said, there's no way Watson and Crick were way too ethical to do that. Totally was a conspiracy, totally confirmed now. So that makes me think about this.
Sorry, what was the significance of that?
Oh, Watson and Crick was the double helix for DNA. Huge, huge thing. It's what this is all about, virology and everything. But they took credit for it when in reality she came up with it and they stole her idea.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not saying this nurse came up with this HIV and AIDS thing, but that's kind of going down the same path that Rosalind Franklin Rosalind Franklin went down with Watson and Crick.
Is that the video? Is that the lady that the video leads with?
Yeah, it's the nurse that leads. So dig more into it, but very, very interesting, because she would be the Rosalind Franklin in this case, and the Watson and Crick would be Fauci. So not saying it's happened, but to think that there isn't a lot of greed and human type challenges in the scientific world. They're just humans. They do bad things too. Not saying they did, but it certainly is brings into question what took place.
Well, I think some of what I've heard from people who are debunking her is that they kind of make this claim that, you know, she had to leave this organization and they threw like some bull crap reasons of why she needed to leave. And it sounded like she actually left and had to leave because she was found to be stealing files and trying to bring them over herself. This would be the other side saying it. And then that she had like 2 studies that she'd been a part of through her career that she had been promoting that had like no validity at all. But I think one of the interesting things that I take home from this is, one, I still think this is an absolute conspiracy theory. That doesn't mean that I don't still love it. But two, about a month ago, everybody would tell us, if you ever had a criticism of a scientist or doctor, you were ludicrous. They would say, there is no way that a doctor studied this long, a scientist does all of this. They would never risk their credibility to be a part of the small, minuscule things that have to do with politics. And we have doctors on both sides of this COVID thing now.
Yeah.
And
she's a woman doctor. Shouldn't the women be believed? I mean, so it is really a fun spin on things. On this same thought, bear with me, it was a total conspiracy. And once again, I did not vote for Trump. So you're getting somebody who's literally purple. I didn't vote for Trump. I didn't vote for Hillary. I'm the middle. So I'm not giving over credence to either side or bashing either side. But it wasn't that long ago that Flynn, was it General Flynn? Is he the guy that, the 3-star general that was implicated in stealing some things and doing some bad things? And he was basically discharged from his office, basically wrecked his family. He went bankrupt. So now what are we finding out? Comey instructed Strzok and Page to go in and make up some lies about him that then totally wrecked his career. And now that was totally conspiracy. That would never happen. Guess what? It happened. Now we've found it's come 180, and they actually let the general off today. They said he's been exonerated of the charges. Isn't that interesting?
What's the other side saying to kind of soften that blow politically on supporting Comey's report that couldn't happen? Is there any dialogue on the other side that's trying to soften that blow?
Oh, sure. And they will say Flynn admitted to a lie. He did admit to a lie in the sense that he was kind of framed and backed into a corner that he almost had to admit to something to get them off his back, or he was going down. So the baseline is dig into it yourself. Everybody dig into that one a little bit more yourself, because that's got some legs that are very interesting about look at both sides and determine the validity of the charges and the exoneration yourself. Never trust either side. Dig it yourself.
Because the claim was that there's no possible way that an FBI operative would ever go against the president and his cabinet. Was that the claim?
That absolutely. The FBI is pure. They would never do things like that. Google Comey, and he himself would say, under normal administrations like the Obama administration, I would have never slipped 2 people in there without going through the normal process. There's a process to see if a president or administrations are doing things illegally. You go through the process. So Google Comey admission that he did things improperly. That is unbelievable that occurred. So the take home from this is humans are humans. I don't care if you're left, right, green, purple, blue, red. Humans are humans. Humans are motivated sometimes by evil means of trying to gain fame and fortune. Just because you're a scientist or just because you're this or that doesn't mean you can't be questioned.
So let me ask maybe a stupid question about this. My question would be like, so what? So now where does this land? Why did we waste all this time on this Comey report? Like, what was it? What was all of this for now? And now that like Flynn is he kind of like exonerated?
He's off the hook now. Yep.
So what?
So why is this a big deal?
Yeah,
because this was the start of the whole Mueller time. That every week there was a new charge that Trump was doing it wrong. As soon as once again, I didn't vote for him, but I still call him Mr. President. Literally off the jump within a few weeks, every week there was a new scandal. It was Russia. It was Flynn. It was one person after another. It was Roger Stone. all these things leading to the middle, to the rotten core that Trump, one, didn't earn the election. He only got the election because the Russians got him in. And two, that he was surrounding himself with terrible people. And so far, check off, check off, check off. These things have not been true.
I think what did happen. I do think what happened with Trump is, I think really, really early on in his campaign, I think only a lot of evil people were surrounding him. I do believe he hitched his wagon to a lot of really negative people, Roger Stone to be one of them, who then kind of encapsulated him with a bunch of really bad people that drove him into the White House. And so it was a kind of a clusterfuck walking into that space, and you saw it all slowly kind of fall apart. He's been kind of agile now to at least remove as many of these horrible people away from him. Now, they certainly might be his fall guy. I think there's good maybe reason or even evidence to suggest that, but we'll kind of see as time will tell now with Trump. It's like, well, where is the next boogeyman that he's surrounded himself with? Like, is it Fauci? Like, Fauci doesn't really seem like a boogeyman to me, even though that video was trying to allude to that. He seems to be surrounding himself with more positive people that seem to have a better level of clarity on what's going on in the United States, and I feel a little bit more confident in his inner circle currently than I did really, really early on.
Absolutely. Think of any head coach, because we always try to bring it back to faith, family, friends, football, and God bless America. Think of any football coach. You come into the season early and you're surrounded with these players. And as the week goes by, you find out who is there with good intention and who's there for other intention. You just start to weed them out. So it's got to be incredibly difficult for a new president to come in and go, who can I trust? And that's why I give them a little pass for some family members that are in there, in that they weren't elected, but he trusts them. So you can have trusted advisors around you, I think. But he really took a big bash for doing that.
But everybody hated his family members, right? Everybody hated Donald Jr. and Eric and Ivanka's husband.
Certainly everybody hated him who didn't vote for him.
I know, but
of those who voted for him, they probably thought it was a wise choice, because to get clarity and to have trust, you have people you know.
I get that, but where are they now? You haven't. I'm just saying, you haven't seen them in a long time.
I think
so. Every single person that he has put up to bat, the majority of America has denounced that person and say, we hate you, we think you are vile, we think you're disgusting, we think you're underqualified, we think that it's whatever reason it was, right? He's actually taken them out of a lot of the limelight and seemingly out of a lot of responsibility.
Yes and no. I think he has moved them behind the scenes, because I think he was looking at the plus-minus ratio, and what you said was trying to bog some things down. But I think Jared, Ivanka, and the sons are in positions that are very important, and I couldn't tell you what they are right now. I think Kirshner's really involved with Israel. I think each of them have their pet project, but they are kind of not out on the front burner. They're more on the back burner.
So you think,
and that's probably a wise move on his part.
So he's doing it more for optics, you're saying, than actually the delegation of responsibility.
Optics is everything. As we hit in politics, optics is huge.
So let's move on to some of his optics this week. He went into a Honeywell face manufacturing facility without a mask.
And they're making the mask.
They're making the mask, and I correlate this to, what if he was walking into even, let's say, a pizza spot, and he didn't want to be seen eating the company's pizza, or a t-shirt spot and he didn't like put on the t-shirt, or a hat spot and he didn't put on the hat. Like,
you have to promote what the spot you're at.
Not only was this ridiculous in that way, it's ridiculous with his inability to play the optics game at all, that he's taking any level of cautious approach to this COVID thing.
He's not leading by example, making it happen in services above self. When he's holding us all to the highest standard, but he's not following through with it himself. And that just, the optics are terrible. He's got to be a PR nightmare for those around him. They must just go, this just doesn't look good. But my hunch is he doesn't listen to them.
It's too bad, because I don't like that people have been politicizing this COVID thing. And it continues to get more blown up. And when he does a move like that, that's purely optics for his political base and not for the just giving the country like some understanding that you're a reasonable, empathetic, or supportive person of the place that you're at.
Lead by example, because we are watching. Your children are watching. Yeah, so that was a good one. That was an oddity this week. Well, not an oddity. He continues to fumble the ball that would be easily spikes in the end zone. Go in there, wear a mask, and spike it.
Yeah.
Spike the ball, and instead they fumble.
He is one thing that's too bad with him, because he's such a, what I think is probably like a good marketer in the sense of like in futuristic marketing. But what he does really negatively is, I think he overpredicts his success and he underdelivers sometimes. And
which is totally what you don't want to do. Those generations coming to watch this, you underpredict and overproduce every time, if you can.
And he's just done that a few too many times in a constant way that just slowly kind of unravels some of your trust in his expectations of what is possible. Not to say that he doesn't achieve here and there, and a lot of the things that he's done I actually like, but the way that he over predicts what the success level will be, how quickly things happen, he's gone from being an optimistic guy, an overly optimistic person, to actually a person that doesn't have a real grasp on realistic expectations.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
So his valet has COVID. We don't really know how like.
Yeah, that's real interesting to see. I haven't Googled this. Who's the closest loved one or employee that Trump is associated with who's been COVID positive, and has he lost anyone in his family? You wonder if, as it gets closer to his inner circle, if you become more empathetic to the situation. So that'll be interesting to see what that means.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, well, so one of the things that I actually found, which they messed up in reporting previously with the Pence thing. So Trump told, I don't know if it was Trump or somebody from his circle said that, well, Trump doesn't need to wear a mask and Trump is okay because we tested him today. They heard that someone in their inner circle had coronavirus, so they're like, we tested him today, and we test him every week. When Pence was at the Mayo Clinic, he told a reporter that he's tested every day. So these varying degrees of like, well, we test him every week or we test him every day. We just need to see a better, real, like, honest spot every time. Because now if you've gone from every day to every week, maybe it's just once a month. I don't know.
It takes away your confidence and increases doubt that they're doing it with any consistency. And you don't want to do that because what does that all do? That equals loss of trust. And you don't want people to lose trust in you from either side. So Democrats and Republicans do the right thing, do things that increase confidence, decrease doubt to increase trust. That's what it's all about.
And he's in the susceptible group.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's like,
yes.
You just got to be careful, and you wish you would just take some level of kind of responsibility in this thing, but it's not going to happen.
So he's got egg on his face a few times this week, no doubt about it. I have a question from you that's been coming from my left friends, and this is interesting. Who is Trump going to be taking on? Is the emphasis going to be on the economy, which is really challenged? That's what got him there before. Can the economy get him there? Or is he going to be putting more emphasis on Biden not being up to the task? Because the subfeel of Biden not being up to the task is just not the always Trumper people. It's the people who are going, maybe never Biden. I think the stats are saying about 25% of the Democrats behind the scenes are saying, we have to replace Biden. Biden cannot be the person. So I'm just wondering, I'm sure the process, the delegates and superdelegates in the first round have to go through and say Biden's the man. But after that, if they don't get there, you wonder if they can go, and it's happened before in Republicans, Democrats, nominations from the floor. Because I'm hearing from my very close family and friend members who are hardcore liberals and Democrats, which isn't the same, by the way, and we can go into that another time. They overlap, but not hardcore the same, that they want Michelle and Cuomo to knock off Biden. What are your thoughts? What are you hearing on the left coast? Any of that resonating with you? Anything you're picking up? Or it's kind of fun because I'm in the heartland, LJ's on the left, and we definitely get different vibes at different times. That about 3 weeks later, usually LJ picks it up first and I pick it up about 3 weeks later, but sometimes the heartland will zing us and come up with something first. What are your thoughts?
I would say everybody out here is kind of settled with the idea that Biden is going to be the next candidate, and they have to do anything and everything to be able to get him in. I think they are still...
Will the Bernie people go with that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they'll go with it. They're still reeling a little bit from the loss of that, and they're trying to find ways to accept the Biden, just the new Biden idea of being a supporter of him and how they can manage that conversation, I think. But I find the Bernie voters, who usually are a very vocal crowd, kind of as far as this election goes now, just saying, I'm maybe just going to shut up and vote. They're obviously going to take on huge stances when it comes to injustices that are happening in the country or different issues that they think that Trump is doing right or wrong. But when it comes to the presidential vote, I don't see them really being evangelicals of Bernie's or Biden the way that they were Bernie voters. They're just saying, look, I'm not going to vote for Trump. My vote's against Trump. I'm going to vote for Biden. And, they're saying, Trump has over 20 sexual assault allegations. Biden has 1. Trump's old. Biden's old. I don't agree with Trump. I kind of agree with some of the stuff that Biden's going to have. I hope that Biden surrounds himself with good people, but it doesn't matter. I'm voting for him.
Yeah, I think you're probably dead spot on and right. And I think that there are those that are right on the right in that they think Trump can't emphasize the economy as much as he did last time, but they're going at the heart of Biden, particularly on this Tara Reade thing. Because if you dig into it, Biden single-handedly was a huge proponent at the collegiate level of making it easier for the accuser to accuse somebody of wrongdoing. Almost, dig at this yourself a little bit, almost making it that the accused had to prove himself that he would, usually you're innocent until proven guilty. Now it's almost you're guilty until you have to prove your innocence. They don't assume you're innocent anymore. They assume you're guilty. And dig into that, because Biden was a huge proponent of that. So how does that spin with the Tara Reade thing? Because if that was the case, she would be right. She's the accuser. He would be wrong, and he would have to prove himself innocent instead of her proving he was guilty. I mean, it's just the flip on itself. So Tara Reade is tough. Trump is just a complex thing. But I think a lot of people are going down, checking off this, that, and how do the checks end up? 19, 20, I'm going this way instead of that. It's tough. It's complex. Being an adult and voting is not easy.
Yeah. The next on the docket here is Ahmaud Arbery. They were able to find, capture, and convict his, or charge, sorry, not convict, but charge the two people that were involved in the shooting with him as to murder. So I think one of the really cool things that at least one positive thing that's happened with this, out of the disaster that it is, and of the disgusting and vile situation that this person's family and him had to deal with, and what has persisted for a lot of Black and brown people within our community in general, is how people are treating them and how different racial injustices kind of go by the wayside, and specifically within our criminal justice system. This video comes out about 2.5 days ago, and a huge media uprising starts with people posting about this man, about his family, about the crisis that's at stake in America with the way that the criminal justice system is handling these types of cases. At least now the process has begun. So, one, the process also has to finish with this. They have to try these people. They have to convict these people. It's obvious. It's on camera. One of the saddest things that happens with this is what it sounds like is he was on his normal run and he was walking into a new development. Like, so a new house was being built and he was walking through it. Like
your dad's done that 100 times.
We've done this
all the time.
We have done this so many times.
Until the sign says no trespassing, where humans are a little snoopy. Let's go see what's being built.
It's
absolutely.
It's one of our favorite things to do. And so for this type of vile and disgusting act to happen, if this is truly what was going on, like what a disastrous situation for this to happen. But one thing I am proud of is our community to rise up, announce this, continue to speak against it until they finally got these guys today. So
this is where we sometimes bash media. This is where investigative media can be so positive and do the right thing. We don't always agree on how they're doing things, but in this case, good job for the media to act on what the public is trying to make, what the public feels, and trying to help them out. So good job to the media.
And so, like, I live in an interesting situation because, like, I'm a privileged white male. I grew up in a great economic situation, and I don't have to deal with the level of stress and racial injustice that happens as a Black person in America.
Which is real.
Which is real. And with what happens with that is you find that there's this deep level of pain and hurt when these things happen for everybody. It's vile. And so myself as a white individual in this type of time, while I see America hurting, I also have to keep my head up. I have to, one, announce that this happened, denounce who did it, and work and to hear of the different impact that it's having with the community around me. But another thing that I have to do in this particular time is keep my head up one step further. And where I see a lot of posts saying, this, when this person's getting shot, this is America. Look how disgusting America is. I go, true. These situations are still happening in America, and it's vile, and it's wrong. But, however, no, but so the next step is, but this is also America. Every single person on my Facebook feed, on my Instagram feed, stood up for this individual, denounced the vile and disgusting act, shared their personal feelings, became emotionally invested in this story, in this life, in this injustice, and they are going to walk this to the end. Now, the court system better do right by it, but I also have to say, as disgusting as this is America when these two white men shoot this black man, I go, wrong. I also have to be proud of my brothers and sisters around America standing up adamantly against it and completely saying, find these people, arrest these people, and charge these people immediately, or this is going to be a freaking problem. Yeah. So I also go, this is America too. Look at how much Absolutely. We do actually. Now, our government is not reacting appropriate to these stuff a lot, but our citizens, as an overwhelming amount, actually are trying to wake up these situations. We're not even close to there yet. But I'm very inspired by the amount of activism and energy that all people are putting. They're putting their whole heart and soul into making sure that these things don't happen.
It's not where we're at. It's where we're going. You made me aware of this issue several days before it showed up on my feeds. And once again,
that was about 24 hours after this happened. Yeah.
But what LJ and I have an entirely different demographic, geographically different, economically different. We have a different mix of people on our sites. And I can tell you the same sentiment blew up on my sites, that they thought that was despicable, disgusting, and let's get to the bottom of it. Tying into what you're saying, it's not where we're at in America, it's where we're going. Have we done things wrong in the past? Absolutely. Let's recognize it, acknowledge people's pain, acknowledge our understanding is not as deep as others, and we need to try to change things. And that's what America's all about.
Yeah, and
making it better.
And we'll see on this one. This one really needs to get taken to the goal line. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more about this case as it opens up. But it's just something that shouldn't happen. I don't care what the guy did. There's no reason that judge and jury arrive on scene with 2 shotguns. That's not America.
Totally agree.
That's not America.
Well, and you wonder, vigilante justice sometimes is like, what? Is this like Ku Klux Klan days? This is ridiculous. This was so wrong.
Well, and then the craziest part about this is the person in the car behind them was a part of it. So they had it.
Did they stalk this guy? It seems like there's more to this story that's going to come out. And as the more they peel back the onion, it's more brutal than you ever imagined. It's sick. It's just wrong.
It's sick and it's wrong. And I hope this doesn't get politicized. I hope we just stick to what the expectations are for what happens when human life is lost in America, and doing it the way that we know it should be done, not the way that it's historically been done a few times over, the way that we know that it should be done, and that we get to the bottom of whatever the heck happened here. But
absolutely,
either way, a judge and jury doesn't arrive with a shotgun and shoot sight on scene. Doesn't matter.
Thank you for bringing that up and giving me the update prior to it hitting here. This is kind of fun because geographically and demographically, things pop up at different sites. So it's really fun during 2020 for a dad and a son and a roommate and some others to get together and there'll be a lot more fun people coming on in the future to share information, and everybody have the same goal to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Say, I want to report on just a little thing before the next question. An oddity that LJ and I both independently experienced, and I've checked now with a couple docs since then who have been also noting this, don't know what it is, but just we want to get it out there in 2020. Maybe there's others that experience this. Give me what you experienced. Let me, and you didn't share this with me until I shared my experience with you. In fact, I'll go first, so I won't be prejudiced. My experience a couple nights ago, literally in about a 10-minute time period, about 4:30 in the afternoon, I got the biggest, and I'm healthy, no overriding cough other than seasonal cough, never get a headache, never get a sore throat. Flu hits me once a year, but not a big deal. Hardly ever get a temperature. Just a healthy guy. Work out every day, do the best I can. Literally in about 10 minutes, I had the most brutal coughing spell. It was, Pammy came out and goes, "Are you all right?" It was nonstop. I ended up getting extremely fatigued, nauseous, threw up, headache beyond belief. And literally I thought it's time to go to the ER, but I wasn't about to do that. But it was brutal. I thought it was time for the last rites. Pammy settled me down. I went to sleep. 4 hours later, I woke up perfect. So I shared that with LJ, and he goes, "This is baffling because..." What was your experience?
It was probably a month and a half ago now, where I woke up in the middle of the night. I had a deep level of... Lock this quick. I had this deep, like, compression on my chest, feeling as if, like, the water was deep in my lungs. I could have probably had, like...
You didn't have this when you went to bed, just woke up with it.
Yep, I felt like I had, like, a 1/4 inch of water in my lungs. My throat was sore, and I was having a really hard time breathing, and it felt like I was past all of the days of what people have talked about what happens with COVID, where, you know, people say, like, it picks up, you have a fever, you start to have a light cough, and then it kind of like goes crazy, picks up quick, drops off, and then maybe goes crazy again if you die. I was like the second tier of when that happens the last time.
Same experience. It was like a 4-hour acute COVID event that falls under, what the heck was that? Because then 4 hours later, no cough, no headache, everything's fine. And that was your experience too.
My thought process was, okay, one, I don't want to go to a hospital at 3 a.m. If I'm going to be able to survive this, I need to meet a doctor that's going to help me at like 8 a.m. My doctor's going to need to have coffee and a good night rest. I don't want the doctor starting on me after the night shift. I need like the new 6 a.m. doctor coming into for this one. So I'm going to have to wait it out anyway. And I didn't really want to concern anybody. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I might as well just take a melatonin. If I die in my sleep, I don't love that idea, but like, my chances are pretty much like likely that I'm not gonna get through the night anyway.
Well, and then you talked about maybe you should do one last minute YouTube.
I went to a YouTube. I would just do like a video on my phone for like friends and family.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, so I shared that information with some medicine friends, and anecdotally, a few are picking the same story up. So it's interesting. It'll be fun to, follow this in 5 years. Was there an acute COVID episode that would go around, or what the heck was that? So just reporting from the Heartland and from the West Coast that some oddity is out there, because I can tell you this, I have no comorbidities, but I think if I was 15 years older, had comorbidities, I would have not made it through the night. Was that your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I was
Say
done.
if you were like 85 and you already had asthma, heart disease, and diabetes, would you have made it?
I mean, I didn't think I was going to make it.
Isn't that, this will be interesting to see if we are able to initially track something that wasn't being picked up. So,
Yeah.
enough of that. Good. What, give me, you know what, I'm going to have to wrap it a little earlier. Give me your closing thoughts tonight. What are you thinking?
I'm going to go to the beach this weekend. So,
Really?
yeah.
Well, now they're opened up. I heard that's wonderful.
Everything opens tomorrow.
How is it so quickly Newsom pivoted on that point? I mean, he took a drastic pivot because he was hardcore knuckling down. You stay at home, kind of almost shelter in place, and nice, boom, beaches are open. Tell me, because wasn't he the weekend before giving you $1,000 fine? What happened?
Yeah, I honestly don't really know what happened internally with that discussion. They're just starting to say that we have reached some expectations and numbers that are starting to feel more comfortable with creating a situation where we tiptoe out. We're not sprinting out. We're kind of walking out slowly.
Which is a kind of a tipping point for a lot of states because 40 some have loosened up their restrictions.
44 loosen up tomorrow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, that would lead into kind of my final thoughts in that with this pandemic, 2020, and there will be remnants of this going forward, and maybe something like this could happen in the future. And everyone's so worried about physical health, which we should. It's a big, brutal thing. But besides physical health, there's mental health, emotional health, spiritual health. Mm-hmm. There's so many components of health, and all those are incredibly important. So my experience with this, my emphasis and only insight now going forward is I've tried to develop a routine. And the routine would respectfully give the other loved ones you're confined with their space every day in the house. I try to get up at a routine time. I try to work out at least 2, sometimes 3 times a day. I'm almost hiking, biking, walking every day. I'm trying to eat right, sleep right, think positive thoughts, do a little meditation. Not only do those routine things of cleaning out your closet, cleaning out your drawers, but cleaning out your head of bad thoughts, of previous mistakes, moving forward. Work on yourself, then work on relationships with others, and routine can really be important. And talking about routine, it's Thursday night, so I will shave by the time we chat this weekend.
I love it.
So have a routine, that's important. However, if I could get a beard half as good as yours, I would take it.
Yeah. Well.
Good. What do we got going this weekend out in California? You're going to head to the beach.
Yeah, I'm going to head to the beach, try to get to a hiking trail.
Is it Runyon Canyon you go to?
Yeah, Runyon Canyon.
And I bet the...
no, Runyon Canyon is still closed. Runyon Canyon is through a municipality that's run through LA City. Okay. So LA County and state parks and hiking trails are open. But LA City jurisdictions are not.
That would be a take-home in the future, as you'd think there'd be more consistency and clarity with all the different teams, municipalities, local, state, and national working together.
But I'm fine with, I like this idea of like LA City can hold a little tighter than LA County. Like, I think that's the way the government's supposed to work.
Absolutely.
So
totally agree.
I'm never going to be the person that like goes, well, if the president says this and a state decides that it's like wrong. Now, I might criticize the state for what their decision-making process is on it. But like, I just think it's more appropriate that a governor is taking the responsibility on his shoulders or her shoulders on the behalf of their constituents to make their decisions, and then that to persist down to even levels of mayor. I love that.
I totally agree with you. Politics is local. One size doesn't fit all. Take it down to the lowest common denominator, which can be local. So that I think that's a great spot to end tonight. That it's all about teamwork and making it happen and coming to the best decision that's right for your group.
I love it. All right. Well, love you, Dad, and God bless. It's good to see you tonight.
Yeah, it was great seeing you. Thoughts tomorrow. I'll be interested to see what you think. The NFL came out today with their scheduled games. Let's talk about that tomorrow.
We will.
Yikes. I think Houston is in the opener at Houston with Kansas City. Let's see what happens on that.
Hey,
Let's both purview our patrons on Facebook and Instagram to see their thoughts on it, because there's a lot of buzz, good and bad.
More importantly, though, Dad, Cowboys play Minnesota at Minnesota on November 22nd.
Yeah, and I would think there's a high likelihood that the Texans will be up with us for that game.
That'd be great.
I think the Californians will be visiting us too. Godspeed, buddy. This was a great thing. I so appreciate your journal for the 2020. I think it will have great benefits for three greats down the line. They'll go, what the heck what was our family doing? This is what we were doing.
I love it. It's good.
Talk to you. Godspeed, buddy.
Love you. Bye.